When the average person is confronted with a problem or an uncertainty or disappointment, they stress. And when you stress, it drops a veil between you and your two greatest problem solvers in your mind, called the creativity and your imagination. And you find when that calm comes into place, you will be able to function intuitively. And the great superstars of business, sports, whatever it is, function intuitively. Visualizing the income you want to the point that you make so much money, you never need to think about money again. Constantly and endlessly visualizing, listen carefully, to that person you want to be in your subconscious. Everybody here has heard athletes that eat, sleep, drink their game. You eat it, you drink it, you think it, you become consumed with this new visualization. And it is a new visualization because you indeed reinvent yourself. You are special. Your ideas are special. And your visualizations are special. It's 1939. A man takes his little girl to Central Park in New York City. They do all the things that are fun that daddies do with little girls. And he takes her picture. And he takes her picture again. And a passerby comes by and he says, "Would you take my daughter and my picture?" And the passerby does it. And the little girl says, "I want to see my picture, Daddy." He says, "You can't see it yet." She says, "I want to see it right now." He says, "You can't see it right now. Daddy, I want to see the picture right now. You took it, and I want to see the picture right now." And he says, "Well, we're going to have to take it to the drugstore and get it processed, and there's no way to see a picture instantly." And Dr. Land invented the Polaroid Land camera. He visualized it. There was a man by the name of Harvey. Back in the days of horse and buggies and wagons, they had wooden wheels. And then after a bit, they put iron around these wheels, and they lasted a lot longer. They still rode rough, but they lasted a long number, and the spokes didn't get broke. And then somebody came along with the idea of putting solid rubber around a wheel, and it rode much smoother. But Harvey had this strange idea that maybe somehow you could fill a tire with air, and they called it the balloon tire. He visualized it. My parents killed mice. Walt Disney took a mouse and made it beautiful. Walt Disney started cartoons because he couldn't afford actors. So they were able to make and draw their own pictures. And they got more sophisticated. And if you ever look at the Disney cartoons of the 30s and 40s, they're rich, deep, dimensional. That's because Walt Disney wanted something to be deep, rich, dimensional. So he invented a camera that had two levels. They could put one cell on one with the scene, and they could put another on that. And he kept on going till he had what was called a 16-plane camera. And And that's how those rich, deep colors were. And he was the first person to ever put stereo on a film. A little film, you may have seen it, called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Walt Disney was taking his kids to a carnival, and he didn't like the atmosphere of a carnival. And he began to think, is there some way you could make a place where family would have wholesome entertainment and they would enjoy themselves, and it would be clean and safe and exciting and interesting? So Walt Disney, the visualizer, who now had many films to his credit, including actor films like Treasure Island, went to his bankers and asked for money for Disneyland. And they wouldn't give it to him. They were not visualizers. Walt Disney borrowed everything he could on his home, on the studios, on his life insurance. His secretary, his employees, they did the same thing. And we ended up with something called Disneyland. It was pretty exciting. It was wonderful. It became a huge success. He visualized, are you getting this? He visualized Disneyland. So after Disneyland, he has a great track record. So he thought, we need one of these on the East Coast, and maybe with some hotels too. And so they bought up the land, got all the land bought, and he went back to the banks, to Bank of America. The bank who says no. And they wouldn't give him any money. And he borrowed again on his life insurance, on Disneyland, on the whole thing. And Walt Disney developed Disney World. Hotels, restaurants, marvelous hotels, nightclubs. The most incredibly, after all these years, biggest attraction at Disneyland is not in Epcot. It's Main Street, USA. And he was such an innovator that he didn't even build the town to scale. If you walk down Main Street, USA, the first floors are full scale. He figured a way to draw people into it. And the second floors were 3/4 the size of the first floors. And the third floors are only 5/8 the size. He visualized in his mind what he wanted to happen. You can do this with the next invention, with your income. Visualization is different. Bear with me. There was a man right when Disney World was opening up. There were many men who walked there or drove there with the dream of getting a job there as an electrician or as a carpenter or as to run a ride. That was their vision. Walt Disney envisioned and visualized Walt Disney World.